Hi, welcome to today's episode. So, my guest today, let me introduce her to you before we get into the conversation at all. My guest today is called Nofi Satu, or Nofi as many know her. She is a global mobility strategist, business leader, and passionate advocate for women building lives without borders. With over 18 years of experience across financial services, private equity, healthcare infrastructure, and real estate development, Nofi's career has taken her across the United States, the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. These experiences didn't just shape her professional expertise, they shaped her worldview. She understands what it means to navigate new systems, new cultures, and new opportunities while staying grounded with who she is. Since joining Fragomen in 2015 in Dubai, Nofi has helped scale the firm's private client practice across the Middle East and Africa. Today, she leads the residency and citizenship by investment practice in the region, advising entrepreneurs, investors, high net worth families, and global professionals on how to build strategic pathways for international mobility, legacy planning, and generational wealth. Her work has contributed to some of the UAE's most transformative immigration initiatives, including the UAE Golden Visa, the UAE Virtual Work Program, and the UAE Investor Visa for property owners, programs that have reshaped how global talent and investors engage with the region. But beyond titles and programs, Nofi is deeply committed to impact. She serves as culture and inclusion ambassador for the Middle East, championing diversity, equity, and belonging within our organization. As a strong Black woman, leader, mentor, wife, and mother, she believes that excellence and empathy are not mutually exclusive, and that representation in rooms of influence truly matters. That's who you're going to be engaging with in today's episode. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome to your Voice Your Impact show, where authentic voices spark real change and bold conversations lead to lasting impact.
That's right. This is a space where we amplify ideas, celebrate stories, and challenge mindsets, because every voice matters and every story has the power to transform.
Whether you're a dreamer, a doer, a change maker, or someone simply figuring it out, we are here for you. Each week, we bring inspiring guests, thought-provoking conversations, and powerful insights to help you own your voice and leave your impact.
All right, welcome back to Your Voice, Your Impact. This is the energetic EJ, and I am super excited to be back. And guess what? It's a new month. Welcome to March. I hope that you are marching on in 2026, right? I hope you're marching forward, and I hope that the year so far has been great for you. Now, this is the last month in Q1. Can you even believe it? The way this year is flying, I'm like, wait, what? First of all, it was January went like, shh. I'm like, wait, what? And now February is like, bye. And now we're in March. But anyways, we're grateful to God for life and for the opportunity to hit your screens every week.
In Dubai, if you want to call the police, you dial 999. If you want to call the ambulance, you dial 998. If you want to call the fire civil defense, you dial 997. In Dubai, if you want to call the Coast Guard, you dial 996. And in Dubai, if you want to buy properties, you know what to call? You call me.
Today's special because we're in the month of March, but today's conversation is not about celebration. It's about truth, it's about responsibility, and about action. The 2026 International Women's Day theme is rights, justice, action. But the uncomfortable question that we need to ask is this: if women have rights, why does injustice persist? Are women truly lacking rights, or are they lacking access to power, to decision-making, to opportunity, and to economic freedom? Because empowerment without access is not empowerment, it is simply performance. And justice without structural change is not justice, it's symbolism. Today, we're not here for comfortable conversations, we're here for honest ones. And we're honored. I am honored personally honored to welcome Nofi Mojidi Bayna, a global mobility strategist, business leader, and passionate advocate for women building lives without borders. I love it that she's an advocate for women building life without borders, and she's also a lawyer. So again, she'll be able to speak very, very vividly into the topic of today. So welcome with me, my guest for the day, Nofi Mojidi Bayna. Hello, Nofi. How are you today?
Hello, EJ. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. And thank you so much for having me on this wonderful platform.
Thank you for saying yes. Woo, woo, woo. It's the month women supporting women.
All day, every day. I wish it could be, but we'll take this moment to shine.
Absolutely, absolutely. How are you feeling in this moment? I love to ground the conversation with that.
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling blessed. Every day that I open my eyes is another moment for me to reflect. You know, I am a mother of three beautiful little kids. I have moved to this beautiful country, we call our home the UAE, Dubai. I'm approaching almost 14 years here, and I thank God every single day that He has given me the direction, the focus, the guidance, and just the wherewithal to be able to commit to creating a new opportunity for my kids, for myself, and for those who inspire me, for those who I look after. So I'm good. I'm blessed. I'm happy. I have joy because without joy, you won't be able to move forward.
I love that response so much. I am happy. I've got joy. Like you can buy that.
You cannot.
Buy joy. I love it. I love it for you. And it's such a pleasure to have you on the show
Thank you.
today.
Thank you.
Now, I know our conversation today is not going to be an easy one, but I also know that you are the woman for the task. So let's ride on.
Let's do
Right.
it.
My first question is coming for you, like I'm coming for the job.
Okay.
Now,
Okay. Let's
when
go.
you hear this year's International Women's Day theme, talking about rights, about justice, about action, what do you think most people misunderstand about these terms in relation to women?
Okay. Okay. Number one, I appreciate that the theme is revolved around those three words this year. And when we think about those words, I'd say most people treat those words as slogans, right? They treat them as slogans, as just, catchphrases, if you will, but they're not slogans. They are systems. Okay. Now, I'm going to break it down for you. I'm going to get real. You said let's unpack it. So that's what we're going to do. Let's talk about the first one, rights. Rights mean nothing without enforcement. Number two, justice. Justice means nothing without access. And number three, action. This is where folks are going to scream a little bit. Action means nothing if it's not uncomfortable. So the misunderstanding is thinking that awareness equals progress. So the virtue of putting those three words together enable us to really unpack the true meaning of rights, justice, and action. If we take a second to pause and reflect on what those three can mean in unity.
I love it. Like you are like I just knew it that you were the woman for this job. Girl, yay! I love it. Awareness does not equal action, does not equal
It doesn't.
progress. That is so important because we have a lot of awareness going on. But the truth is, are women really enjoying these three words that have been put together? Like you said, they are systems, not just words, not catchphrases. And it's important that we realize that awareness, just being aware that, okay, we should be supporting women, we should be fighting for women, we should have justice, we should take action. But where there is no system to actually take those action, then it's just noise. And that's not what
Exactly.
we're about in 2026. We don't want it to be about noise. We want it to be about true action. We want to see this word come alive and find expression. So thank you for that beautiful answer and for setting the tone for this conversation with clarifying what these three terms actually mean. Now, what conversations about women empowerment do you think we are still avoiding because they are uncomfortable? Like you said,
Mm,
action
mm,
in the true sense of it is going to bring about some level of discomfort, because when we're
correct.
taking action for what we believe in, there has something has to give. So what conversations about women's empowerment do you think we're still kind of dilly-dallying and walking on eggshells around because they are uncomfortable?
Mm. I love that question because the key to that question is actually rooted in that one singular word, empowerment. What we fail to do is we fail to talk about power. Who has it? Who doesn't? And who is especially gatekeeping it? We also avoid talking about how women can be complicit in protecting those broken systems because proximity to power can feel safer than challenging it. So if you have put yourself in a position whereby you have progressed, you have been elevated, you may have an ally, and you feel comfortable, right? Your proximity to power is something that allows you to feel grounded. So you might, in essence, feel stagnant. But the true power, in my opinion, comes when not only have you achieved that specific position, but you then have the wherewithal to start challenging it. Is it enough? Am I now in a position where I can start asking the right questions to shift the dial in another direction? For me, that's where I feel real change happens because now that you have the proximity to power, you're in a position to challenge the status quo.
That's a very uncomfortable conversation to have,
Very,
especially
I'm
around
glad you said.
women.
No, and to be honest, I have been in many positions where I have been the only one who looks like me as far as, my skin color, my gender. And for me, I feel if there's not an element of uncomfortability, then I'm not in the right room because I continuously think about putting myself in those positions where if my daughters were to finally understand how mommy got to where she is, they can say, okay, she did not look like she had a great time there, but she was growing. She was growing. Even if it looked uncomfortable, even if she felt as though things weren't going at her way, every single day she allowed herself to persist in that position equals another notch on her growth belt, if you will. And so for me, that is ultimately the key to be able to move and shift the dial from a position of stagnation to a position of growth.
Love it. I love it. And just having that mindset or that mind
Mhm.
shift to question, the status quo when you actually have that proximity to power, especially as a woman, is a game changer, because then you just don't blend in and then not get actual results or progress in the conversations that are happening around us and around the women supporting women or women empowerment, like you have
Mhm.
correctly mentioned, which is empower the power. Who is it with? And all of that. Thank you so much for adding that flavor to this conversation. Now, what are some rights that you feel we still need to, would I say, torchlight? We still need to highlight to say these are things that we're still leaving on the table that we are not carrying as part of the
Mhm.
rights that we have access to. What are some of these gray areas that we're not really talking about that we need to highlight?
So that I think that's a great question and one that as women, I think organically we steer away from, right? So when we think about how much of women's inequality is rooted in our access to capital, our financial power, there's a significant amount of it, right? So if women and when I think about this, I smile because I'm living in sort of another universe. If women were to be able to control capital, if we were able to control choices, where we could live, if we wanted to leave a certain environment, what we wanted to build, what we wanted to tolerate. At the end of the day, economic access is leverage. And for generations, women have not been able to access that leverage due to systems, due to culture, due to their environment. So when I think about the financial power that I have, I think about the economic access that I've been able to put myself, definitely um, attract as far as financial capital, and those things would not have enabled me to progress. So access is going to be key. Access is number one, but understanding what that access can bring is going to separate the doers from the receivers.
Thank you for mentioning access because I wanted to ask, like, why is access the real battlefield and not
Mm,
inspiration? Because we talked about, having proximity to power. It's like, okay,
yeah,
I have, I'm in the doorway or in the hallway or even in the office where the power is, right? But that's really where the battlefield is. So why
yeah.
is access the battlefield? Why is it that that's where we struggle the most and not inspiration? Because like I'm inspired, I want to be this. Why is access the battlefield really?
Oh, that it hurts my heart. Like you're really pulling on my heartstrings with that question because, as you said, it is not a question about lacking ambition. I know so many women who have all the self motivation and the ambition to take what they have in front of them to the next level, but it is that access, right? They don't have the correct entry point. They don't have the sponsorship. They don't have the financial capital, and then they don't have the decision making authority, which is another very important element of this. So when I think about access, you can inspire someone all day long, but if the door is locked, motivation doesn't matter. And so there's so many other elements that come into play here, whether that's allyship, whether that's education, but just the mere fact that women, it's not a question of the ambition that is not there. It's more of a question about what they have access to. Why they may not have that access, we can ask all the questions in the world and we can sort of educate and mentor that future leader. But it's always going to remain if we don't do what we can to ensure that the women are in the right rooms, are in in front of the right mentors, then unfortunately, they're not going to be able to progress.
I couldn't agree more. But my follow-up question with that would now be, what does that access truly look like for
Mm,
women? And that could be across levels, whether entry level, mid level,
mm.
top level, whether in the workplace, at home, in the families, in every institution. What does true access look like for women?
Ah, the reason why I like this question wholeheartedly is because since getting my promotion this past December to director of Middle East, private client practice for the entire firm out of this region.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. A little bit of that. That was no. Listen, you thank your boss, you thank the firm, you thank your team, but we don't sit back and thank ourselves like we did this. You know what I mean? So when it comes to access, when it comes to accomplishment, I do thank everyone, including God, for getting to another level. But I also want to step back and thank myself because I worked hard, right? But I could not have done that in a silo, right? It did come from the fact that I was able to intentionally think about that one point, access. So access, what does that look like? It looks like being given credit, not just in the room while that conference is happening, while that presentation is taking place, but after the meeting as well. All of that is happening. You may not even be present, but a form of access is given when you're being given credit for things you might have accomplished by an advocate, by an ally. That's another element of access, right? It looks like a diverse voice that influences a final decision. I may have, spoke something into fruition to my partner. He or she decided that, you know what? Nafi said that. Nafi presented that in the last strategic meeting. It makes sense for me to go ahead and mention that in this room because I know that is going to intentionally give her access. You don't know what could come from it. But again, being your name being whispered is going to provide you with that access. So, and if you're not even in the room, especially if you're not in the room, it's not about optics at the end of the meeting, right? So even after the meeting, it's not going to be about optics. It is going to look like diverse voices influencing final decisions. And that inclusion of your voice, unseen, unheard, is what's going to measure and shape a particular outcome. And I find that that is really what has happened in my life, in my 11 years with Fragment. It was an uphill battle. And I do thank God and I do thank my team and my partners for being able to whisper my name in rooms where I wasn't there. That singular ability was what has given me access to what I have now.
I love that. I love that explanation of access, being that access is that ability to be mentioned in rooms where you can't even be, or in rooms where you may not be, but also having that opportunity for diverse voices to lead or to add up to the final decision in any given room, boardroom,
Yes.
institution. That is so beautiful. I love that interpretation of access. And I just love how you keep segueing into the next thing where you said, that's your experience in the last 11 years in where you work. So let's get into your own personal
Sure.
experience now,
Sure.
right? Was there a moment in your life when you personally felt the weight of being a woman in leadership? I feel like a story is about to come down here, but I want to hear. Has there been ever a moment in your life where you personally felt the weight of being a woman in leadership?
Yes. How can I summarize this in a way that is going to add value to this platform? So I think I can go back to 2020. I think that was the defining moment when I wholeheartedly realized that my margin for error was so much smaller than others in the room. I, at that time, was the highest level, let's say, performer for my practice, for my region, for what I looked like. And so I just knew that that pressure forced me to be sharper, but it also revealed the double standard, right? But again, coming from a background of professional sports, coming from, middle child syndrome, if you will, I just knew that it needed to refine me and not silence me. And so I would use every opportunity that I could to elevate my voice in a way that elevated my practice, but did not restrict who I was as an individual, who I was as a woman, who I was as a mother, who I was as someone who could accomplish anything given a short timeline. So it's one of those things where, again, you cannot teach ambition, which is what I tell my team all the time. It's something that is innate, but I do take it upon myself to make sure that I communicate those types of values when I am leading a group, whether it is, a uh, a certain practice or presentation in front of my peers, or leading the culture and inclusion committee, which is what I do for the Middle East and Africa. These are just notions where a lot of what it boils down to is not my performance in bringing in a certain amount of revenue, but it's in who I am, and colleagues who can see what you accomplish on the basis of sheer grit and determination and just desire and will. So at the end of the day, the weight of being a woman in leadership is something that doesn't get lighter. It's something that I have now turned into a badge of honor, because I know that that badge is being viewed by so many other young women in the organization who aspire to reach a certain point and a certain level. And if there's a glimpse of themselves that they see in me, I want them to understand that they can achieve and aspire to become whom and whatever they want to be. And it's just about access, it's about determination, it's about desire, and it's about sheer determination. And so with all of those things, I'm so happy to be a woman in leadership, because In this day and age, there's nothing like it. With so much going on, there's nothing like being your authentic, true version of yourself. And I'm so proud to be that for my family and for the women that I mentor in my organization.
I just love it, and I love the passion with which you just shared that story. But what caught my attention the most was when you said the pressure was there, but you made a decision and you determined to say, this is not going to silence me, but rather I am going to allow it to refine me. I wonder, where did that mindset come from? Because many have fallen under that weight and either got silenced or became a version of who they didn't even know, and somebody they're not proud of. Just like you're saying now, like you're proud of who you are and how you are becoming like somewhat like a beacon of hope or inspiration to the women around you, even in the vicinity, in your industry and all of that. So where did that mindset come for you that made you say, okay, there's a problem here. I see the weight is about to shift me. Like I could see some things rearing their heads, but I am not going to allow it silence me or break me. Rather, I'll make it refine me. Where did that come from?
So, two things there. Number one, I've always had a level of introspection that I have been intentional about. So, just being able to reflect about where I am currently and where I need to be. It's a moment of pause that I don't think many individuals value or take a second to do, because we're always trying to get to the next thing, accomplish the next goal, reach that next milestone. So I do find many points in my life that I pause and say, all right, why do I want to do this? Who am I doing this for? What's going to happen after I do this in the next 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 year? It's a level of introspection, a level of reflection. And that is not me. I cannot take ownership for that by no means. There are two reasons or rationales where that has been sort of imbued in me. One is God, and number two is my mother. So my mother is my greatest mentor, motivation. She is my all, and so I could not do myself a service if I don't give a shout out to my mother.
Bless you, mama. Bless you, mama.
Right. So that's just to say, we as women, we get it from somewhere. There's an innate sort of nexus we have to become who we are based on what we see, but it comes from somewhere. God will be there, but then the tangible is going to be your mentor. It's going to be someone you've had very close proximity to. And for me, that has been my mother. So when I think about, why I feel a certain way and the grit and desire, the determination against all odds to get things done, I just think about what I've seen my mother accomplish. I think about, what I've heard her do and say, and above all odds, her just, come from the eldest of 6 women to deciding at a young age she was going to leave Baltimore, Maryland to go to an unbeaten, path of becoming a foreign service diplomat and traveling the world and doing all these things for the government. And it's one of those, you sit back and you're like, whoa, she did that. And who was her mentor? You always think like, okay, well then how did she decide to do that, right? So it's this sort of double-edged system where as long as you have someone who might lead you in that path, and even if you don't, I think it's your responsibility to educate yourself, to have that determination enough to say, I want to go and seek out someone who can help me. I might not be related to that person, but I want that education piece. I want that information. And then with that information, I can decide how I want to forge my own path. So with God and my mom, I have been able to do that.
I noticed something recently about experienced investors and inexperienced investors. Most people buy properties based on how it feels. Experienced investors buy properties based on how it works. Here is the difference. Experienced investors will always ask you one simple question. Why am I buying this? Is it for rental income? Is it for long-term growth? Or is it for security for the future? If the purpose isn't clear, the deal probably isn't either. Experienced investors don't just look at how beautiful a particular project is or the hype around a particular project. They study the location differently. They ask, who is moving there? What jobs and businesses are coming in? Because we all know that where people go, money follows. And it's not just about the price, right? Serious investors, they look at the real numbers. They look at the holding costs, the timelines, and the realistic returns, and not just excitement of owning something new. They even think about the exit first. Who will buy from me later, or who is going to rent this property from me when it gets completed? If there are no clear answers, they slow down because experienced investors evaluate strategy, and that's fine. Once you know what to look out for in a property, investing stops feeling risky and start becoming intentional. If you want to look at property like an investor, not just a buyer, send me a message and let's talk.
I just love it. I love it. Shout out to mom. And isn't it just beautiful that is, and to just remind us as women that beyond the boardroom, beyond the ambition, there is also this vital role, just like you said, like there are intrinsic, values that we carry as women that sometimes we don't really pay attention to. And I'm grateful to God and to your mom who kind of modeled that to you, modeled introspection to you, modeled, to say, see, if I can do it, you can do it too. And I want to believe that with your journey so far, you are now in that position to pay it forward and to say, okay, who is a young woman around me who I can see has the fire, the passion, and I can handhold, or I can guide, or I can support, or I can sponsor, like you said, mention their names in rooms that matter that they might not have access to. And I think that's just a beautiful thing that we should remind ourselves as women and as moms, as mothers, as aunties, that we have the capacity to do that. Now, your own access, you as a woman, I'm speaking to any woman watching this right now, you playing a role in this big topic or big themes that organizations are putting together. You have a role to play in it. You have a role to say, action, I'm going to take this action, I'm going to speak up for justice, I am going to do this, I'm going to speak truth, right? I'm going to give access to the next woman. You have a role to play. And your role is not small in any capacity, whether that is the role of being a mom and giving access to your kids to the right education, to the right people, introducing them to the right set of people. That's a role you have to play. So it's not even about just being educated or having everything. From where you are at, how can you give access to the next woman in your vicinity? And I think that's such a beautiful, conversation that we should keep having when it comes to this topic. Yeah, you wanted to add something to that?
No, I am literally praising everything that you said because you're not preaching to a choir. Every single thing that you're saying, EJ, is resonating with me, and I hope that it really resonates with your audience because I say it to my kids all the time. You are given one life. I know that might seem like a strong statement to say to a kid, but you really are given one life. Yesterday has gone. Today is a new opportunity to make a difference, to make an impact, to change your behavior from having a temper tantrum, which thank goodness these earphones work well enough where you didn't hear my eldest son, but to thinking about how can I learn from what I was feeling the day before to turn that into something that I can carry forward in my future. Gosh, that might be deep for a 5-year-old, but you really don't know what kind of words are impacting these kids. So it's just sort of a word of advice to always think about. If there's something I'm going to say, I'm going to make it positive. If there's something I'm going to say, it's going to be a learning lesson. You may not think it might be taking them from A to Z, but if it takes them from A to D, E, F, G, that's okay, because that is just one day of them being able to understand, okay, little progress day by day will move me to where I need to go. And as a mom of 5.5 years, it's a lot. It's it's a lot. You know what I mean? And I always, I am my own worst critic, if you will. But I know that as moms, as women, as colleagues, as employees, you know, we just have to continue to move, continue to progress. Do not stay stagnant. Know that what you're doing today is inherently going to be better than what you have given yesterday. And I think if we can continue to stay positive and keep having that momentum, then eventually, it may not happen tomorrow, the next day, or the next week. You will get there. Just continue to move.
Absolutely. Continue to move one step at a time. Keep moving. John C. Maxwell would say that personal growth is the only assurance or the only guarantee that tomorrow will be better. And what you just said here
Yes.
now, like saying, okay, what experience I had today or yesterday, how can I carry that experience forward, fine tune it, and make my life today better? That's personal growth. And I think your mom really gave you a special gift for her to teach
Thank
you or
you.
help you introspect. That is, like you said, that's something that is not common anymore, but that's such a grounding skill that can help anybody have a steady move towards their goal. Introspection. How did I do? What did I say? How did that come out? How can I make it better?
Mhm.
What words am I speaking? What effect are my words having? How can I, in fact, increase my vocabulary so that I have the right words in my arsenal? And I think that is such a beautiful gift. God bless your mom. As we are wrapping up this conversation, I want to ask this very important question. And this is for the women, because again, we
Mhm.
need to move past just, okay, this is the theme for the Women's Day, International Women's Day. There are panels, there are events, there are conferences, and then it's just the same thing. Like we talk about talk, and we really
Mhm.
don't see the action. I mean, actions are going on, but it feels like there
Yeah.
is a margin, there's a lot that can still be done.
Right.
But the question is, sometimes when actions and words are not aligning, when there's a distance, there's a gap, it's often that some people are benefiting. So what do you think,
Mm.
Kofi? Who actually benefits when women stay small, stay stagnant, stay timid, and actually don't have this access, justice, and all of these things?
Oof. You talked in this. You should have just named this session the conversation of uncomfortable questions, because that is what's happening right now. So, all right. So, who who actually benefits when women stay small? There is so much intentionality built into that question, and I'm going to be honest, right? So, the benefactor of women staying small is broken systems. Broken systems benefit when women stay small. Comfortable leadership structures benefit when women stay small. Anyone who feels threatened by shared power, anyone who feels threatened by shared power benefits when women stay small. So, with those three elements, you sit back and you reflect and say, well, as a woman, I have the ability to decide whether or not I show up in this boardroom, whether or not my voice is going to be heard at that presentation, whether or not I decide I deserve to express my value to earn a certain amount. But if I continue to stay small, those systems who decided that I don't deserve to be in that room benefit. Those leadership structures that were designed for me not to elevate will continue to benefit. So I'm not going to stay small. I want my voice to be heard. I need you to understand that I worked just as hard and potentially even harder to be in this room. So I'm going to let my voice be heard. I'm going to have you understand my value, and I'm going to continue to commit, not by sheer availability, but by sheer determination, that my perseverance is a reflection of my ability and my worth. So being small, in my opinion, is not represented by a construct. Being small is something that women are consciously deciding to do because we do not speak up. We do not allow our voices to be heard. And the only way we can do that is by moving, is by deciding that the status quo is not enough. It is not good enough. I am a reflection of my ancestors, of my mom, of my sisters, of my aunties, and I would be doing them a disservice by not opening my mouth and speaking about who I am and declaring that I deserve to be here. This is my value. How it's received, on the other hand, that's another conversation. But at least I did my part in having everyone else understand my worth and my value.
My goodness, that is so beautiful. I love it. Systems, people, and structures benefit when women stay small, and it takes a decision. Ladies, listen, it takes a decision.
I know I hate to put it back on us, but it does start with us. Those folks are sitting there. The structures are already there. We are actually living in these structures. Hence, it's within our power. It's yes, let's point to us. We can change that structure simply by opening our voice, opening our mouth, letting them know that, listen, I deserve to be in this room. I am the only one in the current room that I am at my organization. I mean, that wasn't there by design. I made it a point to be in that room. I opened my mouth and I said, I deserve to be here. Why? Because this is my value. This is what will happen if I am not here. And you have to have that power. You have to empower yourself at the end of the day. Because if you don't have allies, if you don't have sponsors, then what do you have? You have you. So do yourself a favor to make sure you're in that room. Because if you're not in that room, other individuals, other girls, other little boys, whomever, they're not going to see the possibility. That's it. And you are that possibility. So put yourself in that room.
Love it. I love it. I hope you feel empowered, because I do feel empowered. Like, yes, I am the woman for the job. And this is not just about empty talks or psyching yourself up. You know, lady, I'm speaking to you.
Yes.
You know the work you do. You know how committed you are. You have these things. You know you do the work, but it's going to take you to decide and then speak. And I think, again, to just pull it into the theme again, right? Like, rather than wait for somebody to tell you you're right, rather than
Yeah.
wait for somebody to fight for justice on your behalf, rather than wait for somebody to take action on your behalf, this is a call to us women, that we can make the decision to understand what our rights are. One, you understand it, you know it, and then you speak it.
You
You
speak it.
decide and you speak it, so that you can ask for the justice that you deserve, so that you can ask, and then in doing, in speaking, in taking, that's you taking action. All right. So
Agree.
again, when we talk about these things, it's not just about the external. We can also bring it in, like, okay, what is my role? What is my
Mm,
specific role in ensuring that women everywhere have rights, and their rights are being upholded or upheld?
mm,
They have justice, they are being taken care of, and we are constantly taking action to
action.
make things better for each and every one of us. Before we wrap up, we cannot, like you said something earlier on, we cannot do some of these things in silo. And that
Mm,
is like, we cannot really do these things without the men counterpart. It's impossible. We live in this world with them. And sometimes these
Yeah.
conversations cannot happen without actually having, them
You know
in
where
it.
you're going.
It's one is to
I know where
say,
you're
yeah,
going.
what responsibility do men in power
Um,
carry in accelerating justice for women? Let's talk
mm,
about it. Peradventure, some of them are just like blindsided. We all have blind spots. Maybe they don't know it. Let's help them understand it from our perspective as well. What is the responsibility? What responsibility do men in power? We talked about power
mhm.
earlier on. What responsibility do they carry in accelerating justice for women?
Uh, Beautiful question. Beautiful and just it's a powerful question because yeah, there are two sides of this equation, right? Us as women and then men, you know. So the power that they carry is a very significant one, a very significant one. When we think about support, when we think about allyship, allyship is not passive support, okay? Allyship is intentional support. Allyship is using influence to sponsor, to advocate, and to, most importantly, redistribute opportunity. Think about that, you know, because when none of that happens, silence maintains the status quo. And as much of a, power to women, girls rule, like I am her. I am her. I am all about the she, right? But the most interesting thing in my career that has happened over the last decade is that the individuals who I thought would have my back did not. But the other individuals of the opposite gender who I thought were sitting in a corner, not even thinking about who I was, they were the ones whispering my name in rooms I was not in. So, over the last decade, that has really helped me transform my perception of who was in my corner, who I intentionally was reaching out to get mentored by, and who I wanted to have more sort of personal conversations about how I could elevate myself within an organization. I thought it was going to be the folks who looked like me, who sounded like me, who would have my back. It was not. It was not. So I say this, and not to say that it's going to be the same situation for every individual, but I want you to think outside of the box. I want you to think about those folks who might be in your life who you thought you had nothing in common with. Those potentially could be your greatest allies, because in my case, that's exactly what it was. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing from an ally saying, never have I in my 40 years at the firm met a woman so dedicated, so accomplished, so intelligent. And I am almost brought to tears because I had no idea this ally felt like this about me. You know what I mean? So again, really, really stop putting things in a certain box and allow yourself to experience the fullness of what this life has to offer when you decide not to, again, commit to the status quo, commit to folks who look like you, who are supposed to be supporting you, and allow yourself to just believe that if there is alignment outside of what you could have imagined, there could be potential allyship. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what your ally looks like, what they have, accomplished in their past. It matters how you all are associating. It matters what they are able to support you on in helping you progress from one level to another. So, I'm a big proponent, big proponent of male allies. I think that growing up, because I was so like power to women, I didn't give myself the chance to think that there could have been an ally that didn't look like me, that didn't sound like me. But, in this region, that is not my home. In this region where I have met so many different people from different nations who speak different languages, my ally is a completely different, comes from a completely different environment than I could ever imagine. And that is the greatest influence that I've had in my life on the side of my mom. You can't put mom on the side, but that is one of the greatest influence, and I thank God for His ability to support me in my professional and personal elevation.
Oh, that is so beautiful. I think for me, it's the passion with which you say these things. It's just very contagious and I love it. As we wrap up, I want to ask this final question and then maybe
Sure.
ask you for your last word is if we were having this exact same conversation in 10 years' time, that is 2036,
Oh Lord,
what
you're
would
aging me significantly. Oh, AJ,
what
come
would
on.
need to be different for you to say real justice has begun for women?
Okay, so when I think of 2036 rather than 2026, what I want to see is equity normalized. Because right now, equity is not normalized. Equity is celebrated as exceptional, and that should not be the case. So, in a decade, if we can see equity as being normalized, I would see that there has been true progress. Also, I want to see women's leadership no longer framed as resilient because women in leadership shouldn't be something that we have accomplished. It should be a standard. Women in leadership should be a standard, period. And lastly, I want access, women's access to capital and power to truly feel predictable, not extraordinary. Because right now, that is the status quo. If a woman has access to power, if a woman has access to capital, that is a great feat. We have actually done something great. But why is that the case? Because that is not the normal status quo. Men have access to capital and power as the status quo. And when a woman gets it, wow, how does she do that? That is extraordinary. Let's give her a hand clap. In 10 years, I do not want that to be the case. I want that to be the same equal footing. I want it to be predictable. The fact that a woman has power and has status is predictable. We knew she was going to get that. Look at her. That is what I want that conversation to be in the next 10 years. That is where I would see real justice has not just begun, but has arrived.
Oh, I could listen to you all day, girl. Love it. Oh my
EJ,
goodness.
you are extraordinary. This conversation absolutely made my day. Oh, it made my day. I can't tell you.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. I know you're a busy person, so thank you for taking out this time to share so passionately. It goes without saying you are a woman in leadership, you are a woman in power, and your heart is there to see that this is a normalized thing. And I hope that you are playing a role in making this a reality. As we close out, what's your final word? What do you have to say to women? And what should we be expecting from Nofi in the next couple of days, months, weeks? Yeah, tell us.
Well, Nafi is going to get some sleep, okay, first and foremost. But oh, that really made you laugh, right? No, my final takeaway is at the end of the day, and I said this, I've spoken on many panels, you were there, last month or two. At the end of the day, the one thing I want to tell us women is that we wholeheartedly, we are enough. There is so much that we've done, that we think about, that we contemplate about, but where we are right now is enough. It's not just enough for you, but you gotta believe that it's enough for anyone else who comes in contact with you. But sort of the first start to being enough is to making sure you are intentional about taking action about what you want to do and where you want to be, because it's always going to start with you. It sounds a bit self-serving, it may sound a bit selfish, But to be honest, there has not been anything in this world that has been accomplished and accomplished at a high level if you didn't stop and take a second to reflect about where you are currently in life and what it is that you want to achieve. Because you are only going to get there if you have the determination, if you have the motivation, and you have the willpower to bring that to fruition. So, ladies, I want to wish you an International Women's Month, because I don't celebrate it just one day, because as women, we're going to get this whole month because we deserve it. You understand? We're going to get this whole month. I want you to take this IW month to think about who you are, where you are, what actions you need to take to be able to not just be the best version of yourself, but to think and pay it forward, because you have no idea who is looking at you, who sees you, who puts you on a pedestal about what you've accomplished. You may think you haven't done anything today, but no, someone is watching you, someone is taking notes, someone is appreciating who you are. I learned that the hard way. I had no idea I had eyes on me. I know from inside my house, because I had two little 4-year-old girls who are watching my every move, but on a grander scale, you have no idea the impact that you are making, the opportunity that you have been given, unless you take a second to pause and reflect. Thank God, if that's who you believe in, for what you have and your abilities. And just know that at the end of the day, as long as you are being honest to yourself, you are more than enough.
Oh, Nofi, I love you, girl. Like, this is such a beautiful conversation, and you have such a beautiful way of passing a message across. I am jealous of your what's it called now? I'm jealous of your mentees, because they're having fun. Girls, you have a good one. Y'all better y'all better hold on to this one, okay?
EJ. No, you're amazing. So thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to be on your platform. I can't wait to share all of this with my network and have everyone subscribe to this beautiful platform, because the message that you're sharing, not just for this particular instance, but just the general message, is a beautiful one. And if and folks don't stop to just listen, and really take in what you have to share, they are really listening. So thank you, EJ. Really.
Thank you. You are so kind, my lady. And thank you so much for being such an amazing powerhouse, giving other women permission to be the best version of who they can be. And just letting us know that, see, there is no limit to what you can be as a woman. Just go for it. And sometimes
Exactly.
it's okay to also ask for help when you're unsure what way to go. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask for that mention. It's okay to ask for the access, right? Just don't be
Exactly.
quiet. Believe in yourself and then go all out to see your dreams come to pass. All right. So, guys, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. I really hope that you got good value. I had value, and I would have to go watch this episode again to kind of distill some of the beautiful and powerful words that Nofi shared with us today. All right. So, again, as a woman, congratulations to you. You are a powerhouse. You have everything it takes to be the woman that you saw in your vision, in your mind's eye. You have everything that it takes to become that woman. Okay, just act out, step out in faith and do all you can. And when you need help, always ask for help. Happy International Women's Month. We're not celebrating it for just a day, we're celebrating for the whole month. So happy International Women's Month. And just remember to help another sister fix their crowns. Don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution. God bless you. Until we come your way again next time. Bye, guys.